In a significant turn of events, a federal judge has put a temporary halt to the Trump administration's controversial plan to cut hundreds of jobs at the agency responsible for overseeing Voice of America, VOA, a government-funded broadcaster established during World War II to counteract Nazi propaganda. This decision, made by U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth in Washington, D.C., means that the U.S. has 25 outputs. Agency for Global Media is prohibited from proceeding with its plan to eliminate 532 full-time positions, which constitute the majority of the agency's workforce. The acting CEO of the agency, Kari Lake, had announced in late August that these job cuts were set to take effect imminently. However, Judge Lamberth's ruling maintains the current staffing levels at the agency while he deliberates on a motion from plaintiffs seeking to block the proposed layoffs. This ruling is particularly noteworthy as it follows Lamberth's previous decision, mandating that the Trump administration restore VOA's programming to levels that align with its legal obligation to serve as a reliable and authoritative news source. Additionally, he has prevented Lake from dismissing Michael Abramowitz, the director of VOA. In his ruling, Judge Lamberth expressed concern over what he described as the administration's concerning disrespect towards the court, particularly in light of its failure to comply with earlier orders to provide information regarding its plans for the agency. He pointed out that the job cuts were initiated just hours after a court hearing, where government attorneys suggested that a reduction in force was merely a possibility, not a certainty. Lamberth criticized the defendants for their lack of transparency, stating that their actions had wasted valuable judicial resources and could potentially lead to contempt proceedings, although he refrained from initiating such actions at this time, due to the plaintiffs not requesting it. The employees who filed the lawsuit to prevent the dismantling of VOA argued that the proposed job cuts would hinder the judge's ability to enforce the injunction he issued in April. Their legal representatives contended that maintaining the current staffing levels was essential while the legal proceedings regarding compliance were ongoing. On the other hand, government attorneys accused the plaintiffs of attempting to overreach by micromanaging the agency's operations, arguing that halting the layoffs would be an excessively broad and inappropriate remedy. Judge Lamberth, who has been serving on the bench since his nomination by Republican President Ronald Reagan in 1987, now faces the challenge of determining whether the U.S. Agency for Global Media can continue to fulfill its statutory mission effectively. This agency also oversees other significant entities such as Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, Middle East Broadcasting Networks, and Radio Marti, which broadcasts Spanish-language news into Cuba. Collectively, these networks reach an estimated 427 million people and are part of a broader effort to extend U.S. influence and combat authoritarian regimes. For the fiscal year 2025, Congress allocated $875 million to the agency, with a stipulation that $260 million of that funding must be directed towards VOA. In March, President Trump signed an executive order mandating the agency to minimize its functions and personnel to the bare minimum required by law. This directive led to VOA halting its broadcasts for the first time in 83 years, with nearly all full-time employees placed on administrative leave. In her announcement regarding the job cuts, Lake expressed confidence that the agency would continue to fulfill its statutory mission and suggested that the changes might even enhance its operational capabilities. She stated, "I look forward to taking additional steps in the coming months to improve the functioning of a very broken agency and make sure America's voice is heard abroad where it matters most." However, plaintiff's attorney Georgina Yeomans raised concerns during the proceedings, arguing that the job cuts would solidify the agency's programming at levels that do not meet the judge's orders. She emphasized the uncertainty surrounding decision-making within the agency, particularly regarding which positions were being targeted for elimination, stating, "We simply do not know." This situation raises critical questions about the future of government-funded media and its role in providing reliable information. As the legal battle unfolds, It invites a broader discussion about the balance between operational efficiency and the essential mission of public broadcasting. What do you think? Should the government prioritize budget cuts over maintaining a robust public media presence? Share your thoughts in the comments.